give us your name and your job occupation.
My name is Marc Morisseau, and I'm a motion capture technician at Giant Studios.
All right, so a motion capture technician, what is that? What does the job entail?
On a normal day, well, there's different versions of a normal day. A motion capture technician typically works on production or post-production of a motion capture shoot, which is similar to like a movie shoot, with the exception that instead of recording video, you're recording 3D data, which is typically recorded through putting markers on the body and or the face. And a typical day for me consists of either recording motion capture data for the face or body on a production for a video game or a movie, and it's run very similar to like a film set where you've got people calling out action and cut, and assistant directors running actors around left and right. And then also it kind of incorporates some things about suiting people up in those suits, because sometimes it gets extremely technical. Sometimes it means troubleshooting problems that arise on set, whether they're aesthetic, like performance or animation needs, and sometimes they're technical, where you need to get your mocap system to behave or record in a way that's the client or the team needs it to behave in a general sense. And then sometimes it involves animation or data cleaning of, again, body or face. And that's the two main types of normal days in a motion capture technician position.
All right, so what is the education required to be a motion capture technician?
So the funny thing is that all of the guys that I've met who have been in for a really long time, because this is a newer technology, their backgrounds range from, some are 3D artists or animators, some come from stop motion, some people came from lighting in theater, and some people are computer engineers. And they've all found a way to take their expertise and apply it to motion capture technology, which actually incorporates a lot of different technical philosophies and artistic backgrounds than probably anything else I've ever seen aside from film.
Okay, so you can have almost any type of experience to get.
Almost any type of experience to get in. Of course, the more experience you have in 3D technology or computer engineering or just computer sciences, the easier it is to get into that field. But also people from film, because essentially motion capture uses the same camera systems as any other film school might, or film program might offer. Same cameras, it's just what you're recording is different. So for a degree, 3D animation or 3D helps, but it's not mandatory, because I've seen people from all walks of life come into the motion capture field.
All right, so what was your role to your current position? Was it an internship? Was it an entry-level position? How'd you get to where you are now?
In school, I was doing a thesis project on 3D animation, and my advisors had noticed the amount of work that I had laid in front of myself, and they suggested that I probably couldn't finish it, being one person. So they suggested motion capture as a means to get closer to the end product faster. So I looked into motion capture here at the University of Michigan, started playing with the technology myself, both behind the camera and in front of the camera, and taught myself a lot of the motion capture post-processing software and workflow, and just started learning and teaching myself more and more and more, and decided that I wanted to look for a job in motion capture in Los Angeles, because I knew that films and video games were a predominant industry in Los Angeles. So I took advantage of that thought and decided to apply out to California, and found a company that kind of was the perfect fit for me at the time, because they did a lot of film stuff and video game stuff, and they used motion capture as their kind of bread and butter. And my first project was Resident Evil 6, and from then on, I was just working on more and more video games and more projects to get more and more experience, and now I'm at where I'm at today.
All right, so can you talk about the type of person that's best suited for this position?
Absolutely. The best people that I've seen work in the motion capture field are the adaptable people. Motion capture is a constantly changing field, and it's a constantly evolving field with technology and with computers and with art. So people who can kind of just adapt to the changing needs of any type of project, whether it's film or games, those are the type of people that get really far really fast, because if you're unable to make changes or you're unable to adapt to different problems and come up with innovative solutions, then it's really hard to progress and push the industry further and push the technology further. And those are the kind of things that you need to happen in this industry. You need to push this further and further so that you can basically get more and more out of motion capture or motion capture technologies. So the most successful people have been very adaptable people.
Okay. Now, what makes this career fun, exciting, or interesting, or all of the above?
I definitely think it's all of the above. I've always enjoyed that every day is different. I don't recall any 2 days in my entire career that have been exactly the same. When you're dealing with teams of people from different parts of the world, everyone's got different needs. They have different work styles. They have different art styles. They have different end products, and you're faced with you're faced with just different challenges. And that's probably the most exciting part about it, is finding a new way to handle a new problem. And as long as at the end of the day the end result is exactly what it should have been, then it's pretty much been a successful kind of production. And that is very, very rewarding and very fun, working in all these changing environments. For a movie, you might have to set up a motion capture stage outside, like on a bridge or in a jungle. For a video game, you might have to set up a motion capture stage in a stage studio space. And the way you capture things is going to be different for everybody, so you get to learn a lot too. And I guess the second best thing about having fun dealing with different problems is learning new things. Being in the industry for a few years, you learn so much. You can learn so much in such a little time, just being faced with new challenges and having to deal with different types of people and different types of projects, and that's very fun.
Now, you talked about different types of sets.
Mm-hmm.
So you go on location to these different sets?
So sometimes if you're shooting a film, then they want to do something where they want motion capture to interact with live action, a lot of times you set up motion capture stages on location for the film. So for the company I'm at right now, Giant Studios, they shot Real Steel, the film with Hugh Jackman and the giant boxing robots. A lot of times they had live sets, like they actually went to Detroit, Cobo Arena, rented that stage out, filled it with 1,000 or so people, and put a boxing ring in the middle. And they had live action shooting, but they also had guys in motion capture suits in the ring for the fight. So that's one example of how we use, or how motion capture is used on location, and not just on a sound stage.
Can you talk about some of the different projects you've had a chance to work on?
So the first project I was working on was, as a motion capture artist, was Resident Evil 6. And a normal day was actually on set on a soundstage where we suited people up with markers, and we recorded mocap data. We helped the client, Capcom at the time, figure out the best way to shoot the performance that they needed that satisfied technical needs for the video game and their artistic desires for the director. And that was, I learned a lot on that project because that was my first production scale motion capture work, and later I was doing facial capture, and I was doing that with what was that? Cinemax, or Machine Games for Mad Max, and on that one I was in more of a supervisor role, and I was supervising facial capture. So, my normal day was going in and making sure that each actor's helmet-mounted camera was specifically calibrated to that performer, making sure that the data that I was getting back from their recording matched up with the body and the video and the sound in terms of time code and the performance and all that, and making sure that all that data gets transferred out, and it needs to go where it needs to go so that the clients can get to it and people can animate on it. And I also worked on, I'm trying to think of things that I can mention. There was also another game that was, it was a Star Wars game where we were shooting cinematic scenes, and again, with that, my job on that shoot was real-time character display. So a lot of times, especially for big films like Avatar, they want to see, or directors want to see what their characters look like immediately, and they don't want to wait months for post-processing and animation just to see what the character looks like and then decide that they don't like it. So for a real-time operator, their job is to get characters into a scene and get the motion capture data to stream into that scene, and then be able to display in real time the performer driving a character in a virtual space and see that on a monitor, so they can see and decide, well, since that character's arms are really long, so we want you to move in a certain way that that looks more natural for the character, but not necessarily natural for the performer. Like if your actor is portraying an alien with long arms or long legs, or if your actor needs to interact with something that's in the virtual scene but not in a real scene. So that's what a real-time operator does. It actually, the real-time operator shows the director as close as possible what the finished product looks like as they're capturing. And that's what more and more people and more companies are trying to do and deliver for their clients in this industry, is real-time presentation of what they're doing right when they're recording it on the set.
Sounds like this career is a lot of fun, real interesting. What type of advice would you give to a young person that's maybe in junior high, high school, maybe even in college, trying to prepare for to be in your shoes at some point?
Well, I would say the one thing that I know that helped me get to where I'm at is never stop trying to learn more. So if you're out of school, and I took a 3D class. My first 3D class was in 2005, and it was great, and I loved it. And then I started working and spending hours a day during the summer doing more 3D modeling and animation. And the first jobs that I ever got in the 3D field were from the things that I made during that summer. I spent just doing tutorials, and learning on my own. And from there on, I found the value of just self-guided study. So I took as many classes as I could, and then on top of that, spent as much time as I could, in addition to that, learning more about it, practicing it more, and then learning more ways in which other technologies are being integrated into whatever technology it is that you're preferable for. So for me, it was 3D. For you, it might be film or 2D animation or compositing. So I would just say keep learning more about what it is that you love doing and see how other things integrate into it. Because right now, everyone wants to integrate everything into one system, which I could go into examples, but that would be very, very long. So that's what I would suggest, is just keep learning on your own. And as long as you're having fun, there's no reason to stop.